Hello Year 9, welcome to Week 3 online learning. What I need you to do is I need you to open up classwork, and then what you're going to have a look at here is online learning Week 3. You're going to open up this document here. Now it will show up in your classwork as a solid black as opposed to grey. I've got it scheduled for 11 o'clock. So let's open this document up. This is your next graded task, and what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to have a look at this document, and this is a Google Doc, so you should be able to type straight into this document. Let's have a little read. Design brief. You are to design and produce a raised garden bed as part of the City of Wyndham Garden Show. The garden bed must address the needs of the community in relation to growing organic food at home and having a more sustainable and reliable food source. The garden needs to be functional, attractive and productive. The garden bed needs to be easy for the beginner gardener and or interesting for an experienced gardener. So first of all is you're going to have to think about what is your chosen season. And then you are going to have to think about, do you want your growing season to be summer, autumn, winter, spring? Now this is really important because this is your growing season, which is often different to your harvesting season. Okay, so you need to really think about that. Once you've decided on your season, you are then going to pick 4 focus plants. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to have a think about what you might like to put in your garden. And then the next thing is that you're going to have to choose what size your garden is going to be. So you could have one garden bed at 2 meters by 4 meters. Or you could have 2 garden beds at 1 meter by 2 meter. 2 of those. Or you're going to have 4 smaller garden beds at 1 meter square. Okay. So that's the choice that you have. You cannot have anything bigger than that. Okay. Once you have decided that, you can actually come back to this garden bed size a bit later. You don't have to think about this or make a decision about this right this minute, but you do need to make that decision eventually. This is what I want you to do. You're going to pick your first focus plant. This is where you're going to include and record all of the relevant information about the plant, and you will need to check a list of the information required from the design brief. So it has to be fruit bearing, so we're growing food, yeah. Has to be sustainable. You have to be able to grow it organically, etc., etc. So first of all, you're going to tell me all of these highlighted, bolded areas about your focus plant. So what type of propagation does it need? Okay, is it from a cutting? Is it from a seed? Or is it grafting? Okay, the season it grows in, the season it is harvested in, the ideal growing conditions, required spacing, irrigation requirements, position in the garden. For example, does it need full sun or is it in part shade, etc., etc. How big does it get at full size? So right before harvesting, what is its size going to be? And this is important because when you are planning out your garden, just think about carrots grow underneath the ground. They're a root vegetable, and so they don't show a lot on top, whereas a cauliflower and cabbage are massive. So you have to think about your spacing in that regard. Let's scroll up a little bit. Here we have companion plants. Now, companion planting is plants that go with this particular focus plant. So what works well with it? There are certain plants that you cannot plant together. Okay, so you're going to need to research some of that stuff. The nutrient requirement for the focus plant, the pest common for this plant. So what does, eat it all up? Now, I've just recently discovered I've got a whole lot of caterpillars on my cabbages, and I'm finding eggs, and I'm finding tiny little caterpillars and then big fat ones, and they all need to die. And so you need to then think about, how do we treat the pests? And remember, part of the design brief is that we need to be organic. So you need to come up with some kind of pest repellent, but that is organic. And how are you going to do that? Disease is common for this plant. Okay, so it's another one you need to think about. And then how to treat that disease. Okay, so then they are all the areas that you need to research. Then you're going to repeat this for 3 other focus plants. So you need 4 focus plants in total. What I've done for this template is I've basically just repeated the same information. So this is focus plant 2. This is for focus plant 3. And then this is for focus plant 4. So you're going to do that for 4 different plants. Now, if you are talking about companion planting, obviously you're going to have more than just these 4 plants in the garden. And I would expect there to be way more than 4 plants planted in your garden. You only need to do this research for 4 of them. The companion plants probably need to be researched just minimally. You need to know that they grow well with that plant, okay? So you don't need to do a full research on the companion plants. It's just your 4 focus plants, okay? But I do expect to see other plants in your garden beds, not just the floor that you have listed in your research. I hope that is very clear. This is where you get to now play around with the design options, okay? So you need to think about now, which type of garden bed are you going for? Are you going for the 1 garden bed, the 2 garden beds, or the 3 garden beds? And then you're going to draw a picture in here. Now, I understand that drawing on a computer may not be that easy for some of you. This is the area where I'm more than happy for you to do a hand drawing. You will need to take a very close-up photo of that drawing so that you can then attach it to this task and send it via email, the photo that is. And so you need to be mindful that when I open up photos, I cannot expand them and magnify them like I can, like a Google Doc. Okay, so it only focuses in on a small part. So you have to be very clear in your drawing for this. Okay, so you have to come up with 3 different design options. Once you have that, you need to then explain to me why you have chosen the design option you have. Remember, this is where you would actually link this back to the design brief and what that asked you to do. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do evaluation criteria. And you're going to write your evaluation criteria in here. And then after you're finished the design task, you're going to come back and answer those questions, okay? So evaluation criteria 1, and then you'll respond. And then that is actually your evaluation for this end product. Probably should actually write this in. And you will need to, there we go. You will need to put that into every box. Put that in here. And then there's just one on the next slide. So once you have actually answered those response questions, that actually becomes your evaluation for this task. Okay, you don't need to write an extra reflection or anything like that, just the responses from your evaluation criteria. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to actually use this template to complete this task. Now, I'm expecting that you will just type in here straight away, okay, your answer to whatever your focus plant is. So for example, you might say, cabbage. Okay, and so then all these questions here, all this information is going to be about cabbage. Okay, how do you propagate it? What season is it grown in? When do you harvest it? What's the ideal conditions? What's the required spacing? What kind of water requirements does it need, etc., etc. So that's just an example. What grows well with cabbage, okay? What are the nutrient requirements for cabbage? So all those things. And so you're going to repeat that for 4 different edible plants, okay? Because we need them to be edible because that's what the design brief asks. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the stream during tomorrow's class. I wish you well. Bye for now.